Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Blockchain Hustler. This is the podcast on Blockster, where we interview industry leaders, talk about strategies and how we are growing the blockchain industry. Today here we have Charles from Forj, and we have some questions prepared, and we're going to basically explore a bit what he has been doing in the past, as well as what's ahead. So yeah, maybe we can start off with Charles. Could you just give us a brief introduction about yourself and a little bit how you initially got started with crypto and blockchain?
Yeah, of course. So hi everyone, my name is Charles or Chaz Stanton. I am the CMO of Forj. Forj are a leading Web3 and NFT innovations project. We are a subsidiary of Animoca Brands. We were formerly Bondly, and this year went through a massive rebrand as we strategically position ourselves for the emergence of Web2 audiences into Web3, positioning ourselves properly to be able to enable more people to come into this space, which I know is a really big priority for quite a few projects. In terms of my personal background, obviously CMO as Chief Marketing Officer. Before I joined Bondly, or was now Forj, I was the head of social media for KPMG in the UK. And prior to that, I was head of digital marketing for a major retailer in the UK, with a background spanning many years, well over sort of 13 years in digital marketing. And I was heading up social media for a number of big brands, including Bupa, a well-known healthcare brand, and also the National Lottery as well in the UK. So crypto, Web3, took my interest in 2020. During the initial COVID crash, I really sort of dived into cryptocurrencies, trying to understand more about different protocols. I was quite a big fan of Cardano at the time. It led me to explore a bit more about the space, and I absolutely loved everything that was going on. And I found out more about NFTs, and that kind of led me to Bondly.
Okay, brilliant. So like a strong marketing background from big brands, and then when you first learned about about cryptos and NFTs, what was your first thing that really attracted you towards it? Was it like decentralization, freedom of movement of finance? Well, what was your initial reason why you got hooked on in the crypto world?
Yeah, well, actually, you touched on it there. I mean, the notion of decentralization, but actually, it was more than just the idea of a community governing a protocol. It was the fact that this ultimately changed everything. And actually, for me, one of the biggest use cases I foresaw basically was around media, because at the time there was a huge focus on truth in the media, in the press. And this idea of what is truth, how can something be irrefutably true, and the idea of something being essentially placed into the blockchain, whether it's minted into the blockchain or whether it's accepted via the protocol. The fact that there is truth in the blockchain, it can't be changed, it can't be hacked, it can't be altered in any way. There's irrefutable evidence of that particular item existed at that particular time. So whether that's obviously a currency or a piece of data or an image or whatever it might be, the idea that exists in the blockchain for all time was incredible for me. That was a real eye opener.
It's a very powerful story when you can trust math and numbers instead of humans. Because humans, there will always be things that goes wrong, corruption, there will be all kinds of things. But in the cryptos and NFTs, you basically trust data and algorithms, and it can't really be changed if it's done correctly.
Well, there's trust in as well, because it's more than just the actual math of blockchain technology and the cryptography behind it. For me, it's actually the truth that comes from verification across hundreds or thousands of different nodes, i.e. sources. That was really the key. I always use the analogy of if I'm in the middle of a town square and I hand somebody a £10 note and I yell, "I'm giving you a £10 note," and 100 people hear me, then there's absolutely no way that person can dispute that I gave them a £10 note, because 100 other people heard me, and they will verify that was true. And that's really powerful. I know it seems like a simple concept, but actually so many things are made better through the involvement of a community or verification process that involves multiple different sources, you know?
No, 100%, and that's what we are all here for, like building out that future. And has been a lot of roadblocks, and that's also why we bring up industry leaders here to talk about it and educate the audience about like what we are working on here. And I know that this is something that you're doing with Forj. And could you tell us a little bit about the mission that you're on with the company with Forj, and what you're working on here in this ecosystem?
Yeah, so Forge really was built out of the realization that NFTs and Web3 technology had the power to forge greater connections between fans and creators. So what we mean by that is when you think about branded experiences, when you think about experiences through, for example, musicians or actors or sports personalities or whoever, if they're trying to engage an audience, Web3 allows them to do so much more. You think about the power of, for example, proof of attendance, NFTs, or the power of NFTs with utility, or the power of the metaverse, which of course is an area that we've really been exploring through our sub-brand Metaprints, also backed by Animoca Brands, where we're exploring loads of different ways to kind of bring brands and artists and creators into the metaverse, and create experiences that, frankly, you could never have done even a few years ago. So that's really where our mission lies. It's about bridging the gap between fan and creator, and actually we want to blur that line between what is a creator and what is a fan, because actually can it be flipped on its head? Can the fans become the creators and the creators become the fans? It's really about that relationship between the two parties, and actually making sure that there's less and less of a gap between them, because that's where the magic happens. When the community has the power to co-create, and the creator has the power to tap into a community to build incredible new things that are right up to the minute in terms of the demand from that community. So the potential for two-way interaction and what that can create is vast. And I think that's another thing that Web3 gives creators more than they've ever had before. In the traditional model, you go on Twitter as a creator and you say, hey guys, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But it's not the same thing as being able to genuinely see who's interacting with your experiences, being able to go out to them and say, you have a particular authority, or you have particular utilities or privileges, and as a result, you can help to co-create with me, and you can earn your way up the rankings in regards to how much of a contributor you are to my particular project, and just endless amounts of opportunities through governance, etc. That Web3 enables creators. That's where it gets really exciting.
Yeah, I remember I got my first NFT back in 2018. Wow. It was an Axie Infinity. And back then they were all just called tokens. So back then it was like the same thing, like an NFT was, and then tokens, and it was all kind of like the same thing, one thing. Yeah. Now what you're starting to see very clearly is that more and more companies are combining NFTs with tokens and kind of building up different, not like formal entities, but not like kind of formal entities that are based where it can be that the NFTs are kind of like the shares in the company, and then the tokens are kind of like the economy within that ecosystem. What is your take on the future of like the difference between tokens and NFTs? And do you think that they will be kind of merged together, aligned? And maybe you can talk a little bit about the difference, how you view the tokens, like a coin versus an NFT. And
yeah, so I always distinguish a cryptocurrency from an NFT in respect of the fact that a cryptocurrency should be a way of incentivizing a community to interact or to perform certain tasks to maintain the integrity of a protocol. So, for example, you earn tokens by staking, by providing a node or validating a node. Whether that's through mining or proof of stake or whatever, the currency effectively is essentially self-perpetuating. It creates value for the ecosystem, and that's a really important part of the ecosystem. An NFT, on the other hand, I think is much more about creating an engagement. So you have the opportunity to, as I mentioned before, whether it's through proof of attendance or whether it's through proving that you are a certain type of community member. Let's say, for example, you've earned the right to be called an OG, or I mean, for example, if you're using the example of Phantom Galaxies, which is a AAA game with Animoca, if you were one of the first, I believe it's 10,000 people to have entered their Discord, you got assigned a particular NFT, and that gave you privileged access to the whitelist sale for the token and for the planets for that particular game. Those NFTs essentially become a badge of honor. Now, yes, there are blurred lines between what is a token and what is an NFT, but ultimately, with the NFT being essentially a means of conveying media as well, I think there's obviously far more to it, far more useful in regards to entertainment, engagement, interaction, where a token, I think, is far more around driving an economy. It's fueling the of the ecosystem, if that makes sense.
All right. Yeah, it does make sense, and I kind of agree there that there is similarities, but also differences, and we are starting to see different ways of like combining the two into like the same project. So when it comes to Forge, like I understand like you are working with like bridging the gap between creators and fans, and are basically getting them closer. Could you tell us a little bit like what are the main Web3 components here, as well as also what components that are like more Web2? Because I understand that it's like the combination here. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, like what's unique about the way you do it that is Web3 related.
Yeah, so a great example is we're working with a well-known Web2 brand called Bands in Town, and Bands in Town are a music website, and their service is very simple. It's a Web2 business, and their model is essentially you choose the artist and type of music that you like, and they'll let you know when the artist is in town, and you can book tickets, etc., and you can use the platform to essentially manage your experience of going to see that artist. Now, we're working with them to have the opportunity for people to do, well, initially online, but maybe one day physical gigs and experiences where they receive a proof of attendance NFT, and you have to be there at that specific time, at that specific moment, to be able to mint this NFT, and it becomes a piece of memorabilia, a bit like a ticket stub almost. But it has unique art, so we're working with the creators to create something that's specific to those people. It's a way of rewarding people for being there in person, but at the same time, it provides the artist with an opportunity to engage with people years down the line, whether they want to do it regularly or whether they want to come back in a few years' time and say, you were there at my first gig, because we work with emerging artists. So, you were there for my first big break. It's actually called the Big Break. So Bands in Town Big Break. And, that is powerful. When you think about what Web3 can do there, it's irrefutable. We talk about the blockchain and the importance of truth. It's irrefutable that I was there at that particular time, especially if it's a soul-bound NFT, which of course means you can't transfer it, or you can't, go and buy it off the open market and pretend like you were there. You have to have been there and connected your wallet and minted this NFT. And that proves that you were there, and obviously that you therefore are a super fan, or at least you are one of the original fans. And you can create really meaningful experiences with these people, help them to become advocates, make them feel special, work with them in other ways, and use that, for example, it could be anything from access to a VIP group on Discord to the ability to get access to tickets when they get sold. So maybe you always get premier access to the best seats in the house because you were there and you were one of the original supporters. That means of engagement is very Web3, you see, but also the ability to vote. So using those, you talk about tokens versus NFTs. Of course, you can have thousands and thousands of NFTs, which might feel like tokens, but the ability to kind of take that one item and be able to, vote on whatever it might be, whether it's next tour that artist does or what songs they play for their gig. You as a fan have the power to help shape that experience.
It is a unique experience, and like you can really create, like it sounds like you can really, with Web3 use cases here, you can create like a deeper connection between the fans and actual creators. And I think that's kind of where we are going, where also fans are becoming more like businesses, where the community can be part of the creator's success.
Yes.
With you can see different things coming up like that. It's an fascinating time that we live in, and we are very early here, which we can see especially now. It has been some tough months in the markets, and it has been
Yes.
like a rough period for a lot of Web3 companies. This has been largely due to external factors when it comes to like a lot of funds has been pulled out of the system with central banks that are increasing rates and pulling money out of the system, a little
Yeah.
bit delayed effects of many different reasons. What has your like strategy for the bear market so far been? And yeah, let's start there. Like, what is your current approach, and what's your current approach to the bear market?
Yeah, I think the first rule of dealing with a bear market like this is to really be honest with yourself. Are the same strategies going to work in 2022, 23 that they might have done in 21? So, for example, our business model in 2020, 2021 was very much around NFT sales. NFTs were hot. The idea of utilities with NFTs was something that people were really valuing. And I'm not saying that people would buy anything, but certainly there was probably more of a push to kind of get things out and to form I guess headline making partnerships. Where now actually in a bear market, the focus needs to be around value creation. People have to really see the value, the narrative, of building communities and building a narrative in any project you do. That is really important. It can't just be about the NFT and the just the transaction. It needs to be around what's the potential long-term story here, that ability to create a community around a vision or whatever it might be. But then on top of that as well, there's also the need to be honest with yourself about sales. Is this the time to be making sales? Probably not. Actually, the best thing to be doing right now is building, frankly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we wouldn't be working on community activations, etc. Obviously, making sure that we have our communities, kept alive. But ultimately, we shouldn't invest all of our time and resource into continuing to push out the same projects, the same products, when actually the best thing we could be doing now is to prepare ourselves for when brands and audiences return, which they will do, I think, within the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the same approach that we here, especially at the Blockchain Hustler, do. We build, we focus on what we can, and we are in a tough overall time in the market, and building now and setting the stage for what is next. I think that's the core thing that you can do. Focus on building brand, focusing on building relationships, talking with industry leaders. You can see so many businesses that have been struggling because they had a business model that was working well in a bull market that was either based on royalties, so it was based on trading volume, and you got the tax of the trading volume. And right now you see that a lot of them have gotten a real tough wake-up call.
I'll give you an example, Tim. So one of our offerings to our customers is we run a launchpad, the Forj launchpad, which is actually essentially it launches Animoca brand projects. So Animoca brands have a number of different innovative projects coming out and launching, and they will often launch via our launchpad. But now is not the time to be launching a project because the market just isn't right for it. People aren't looking to invest or to support new projects because of the potential risk and the uncertainty around, let's say regulatory compliance or other factors. So you look at projects that were in the bull run, they were the biggest projects like PokerStarter, for example, but PokerStarter now, very, very different story, that people aren't looking at launchpads. So why would we, invest thousands and thousands on marketing, community building around launches, knowing that they're not going to sell? Actually, far better to have our team focusing on improving the product, working behind the scenes on new relationships. We as Forj recently submitted a proposal to the Ape DAO to potentially build an accelerator for the ape community. So that's an example of a situation where we would look to build and to focus on building, so that when the bull run does kick in again, we are even better positioned to make use of our connections and our abilities to support innovative new projects.
Yeah, I like your approach, Charles. And now we're coming up here towards the end of this interview. always super nice to be talking with industry leaders that are pushing forward, building and growing right now in the tough times. And we will be here, you will be here. A lot of the companies will be here regardless if it's 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Absolutely. It will, at some point, the tide will turn, the winter turns into a spring, and then comes the summer. All the time goes in cycles. So yeah, thank you so much for
a sort of a parting thought around some of the uncertainty. What I always say is, regardless of what regulatory changes come, people adapt, businesses adapt. I think the idea that crypto and blockchain technology would in some way die as a result of regulatory challenges is madness. There is so much investment. There's so much logic. I know personally of many huge Web2 brands that people may not even know are building. They have some incredible products coming out. This is not going away. So yes, there might be some projects that succeed or fail based on some of the upcoming changes and maybe some of the market conditions. But the industry as a whole is absolutely poised for its So stay with us. Is the
just to add on top of there, I saw venture capital, Web3 was topping all venture capitalists month after month again, and billions and billions and billions are being poured into the ecosystem. So yeah, thank you so much for being here with us today, Charles. How can the audience here learn more about Forj and you? Is it Twitter? How can we best find you?
Yes, so we're on Twitter, so Forj official, all one word. Our website is forj.network. You can follow me at Chaz_Stanton. But otherwise, we're on all social channels: Discord, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, etc. So do follow us, and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. So thank you everybody for listening in here today. This is the Blockchain Hustler Show. We interview industry leaders to talk about how we can grow the industry forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody.